let's get into the best metal albums of 2001. Now at number 10, I have Sepultura Nation. Now when Max Cavalera got a new singer for Sepultura, I was really not feeling it, but going back to Nation, what you really have here is sort of a combination of the kind of revolution metal that you would hear from Rage Against the Machine, but with a more Brazilian throwdown Sepultura feel to it. You know, you have like the Ritz feel like, you know, you got Revolt, you got Border Wars, One Man Army, you know this fight the system, like, you know, tribalistic kind of metal that you would expect from a Sepultura album. And I think this one hits pretty hard. And the singer Derek Green, he's got some good growls. He's not a carbon copy of Max, but his growls do hit it pretty hard for this brand of Brazilian metal. Check out Sepultura Nation. At number 9, we got Seven Dust, Animosity. Now, the album before this, Home, was kind of mellow, and it's heavy, and some people say it's the better album, but I actually liked Animosity more. They ramp it up. They ramp up the metal. While John Witherspoon, he's got a lot of range. He's got good middle growls, ballad growls. I mean, ballad singing and transition into the growls really hit hard with Animosity, and I think a lot of people just kind of dismiss this album for kind of being not as fluid as some of their other albums, because they were trying to be heavier. But I think that's why it kind of stands the time, because they, you know, as far as nu metal goes, this album's a home run. Check out Seven Dust, Animosity. At number 8, Avenged Sevenfold, The Sound of the Seventh Trumpet. You know, I was always kind of weary of Avenged Sevenfold because you always see girls wearing their shirts. I'm like, what is this, some kind of chick band? But they were on to something. They were on to the metalcore. They would sound like, they would have mellow songs, and then 1 second, and then all of a sudden he would sound kind of reminiscent of like Cradlefield, like hard metal. They were soft in parts, but they would go soft, really hard, soft, really hard, and really but they would get a little punkish. So I think that's what threw me off with Avenged Sevenfold, was some of the punk scenes, some of the punk vibes, but overall, the whole album's pretty good. Number 7, we got Demolition, Judas Priest, Demolition. Ripper Owens takes over Robert Halford's parts. A lot of people dismiss this album because, you know, it's not Priest without Halford, but you got some real hard bangers on this one, like One on One. You know, Ripper Owens is pretty awesome as a lead singer. Demolition rocks pretty hard. Number 6, we got Devin Townsend, Terrain. You know, as someone who's not my favorite metal guy, he shows up on my list because he's one of the hardest working guys. During this period, he was working his balls off. And this album by Devin puts me in mind to just, his last album was The Chaotic Order of Science. And now this is the chaotic order of the earth and the elements and the terrains. You know, you have hurricanes and tornadoes, landslides. It's very interesting album. If you listen to the first song to the last song, like a concept album, it's really a whirlwind of just metal sounds. It's really like an experimental album. Number 5, we have Camelot, Karma. Now, I just got into these guys recently. If you like symphonic metal with operatic vocals, that puts you to mind to Nightwish and Wicked Temptation. Definitely give this fifth album by Camelot a spin because it made me an instant fan. And the vocals and the whole album just feels like a fantasy journey into the Neverrealm. It's just a really great album. Next we have Darkest Hour, so sedated, so secure. This is deathcore at its earliest, and it's, I don't think people are ready for this kind of album, but looking back, this is a pretty badass blackened deathcore album that I think when you listen to it, it's kind of all over the place. They're still kind of raw, Darkest Hour, but it's sort of like Lamb of God when they were really raw. This is their raw album, and yeah, Darkest Hour at number 4. Number 3, we have Ice Earth Horror Show. This album is cool. Now, what I really like about this album is the Iron Maiden influence and the horror movie influence, because you have tracks like the Wolfman, Damien, Jack the Ripper, Imhotep, Jekyll and Hyde, Dragon's Chill, Transylvania, Frankenstein and Dracula, they're all here. The Phantom Opera. It's just a very cool horror movie themed metal album. All right, number 2, we have Catatonia, The Last Fair Deal. Catatonia's 5th album. I blame their last album sounded too much like Stained or something. They definitely bring the goods in this one. They heavier but still somber. It's a really good album if you like kind of dramatic, melodramatic, but like heavy metal. It's very kind of a drab, depressing album, but it's gothy at times. It's down to earth. Yeah, it's definitely a very underrated album by Catatonia. Number 1, we have Opeth, Darkwater Park, the 5th album by Opeth. Violent Still Life is a tall order, but the fact they were able to hit another one out of the park, to make it just as dark as Still Life, with the twisted 70s prog and the current black metal trend, really just kind of makes this Opeth a league of their own. The best album. It's the best album of 2001. Let's get into honorable mentions. We got Sana Artica with Silence. This is a long album, but it gets, you feel like, it feels like you're going through the seasons of the many decades of the years. It's a very fun power metal journey. Then you have Heavenly Sign of the Winter. This is a very uplifting power metal album that I really had fun listening to. And then this is sort of like a new metal album, but I think everyone dismissed at the time because Let the Bodies Hit the Floor was played every single day of the year for years after they put this album out. Drown Pull Sinner. Skip over Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. The rest of the album really slams. Then you had Soilwork, A Predator's Portrait. I wanted to put this on the top 10, but the problem is there's maybe a few good songs and a lot of filler. The few good songs by Soilwork slam pretty freaking hard, but the rest of the album kind of goes aimlessly into that kind of overstuffed filler kind of. A Predator's Portrait. Best song is like The Average Stalker. Check that one out. It's so good. And then Bolt Thrower, Honor, Valor, Pride. This one is just like a machine crunching bodies and parts, and it's just a brutal fucking album. Bolt Thrower, Honor, Valor, Pride, death metal at its goodest. Then my most brutal CD, most brutal album, darkest brutal album. We have Graveworm, Scourge of the Malice. This one just it's so dark. It just fills you with venom. As soon as you listen to it, you just feel like you're possessed. It's the darkest album of 2001, and that's my full list of metal that you should check out in the year 2001. I will see you in 2002.